Hi everybody. In this video we're going to look at making a composite with two images, and a composite basically is creating one image that is made up of a bunch of other images. So let's get started. I have two images here, and I'm just assuming that you know how to open up files in Photopea. So I have the street and I have this water image of the swimmer. Okay, and what we're going to wind up doing is bringing this swimmer inside of the street and making her look like she's swimming in the street. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I'm going to select all. So that's either Command or Control A to select all. If I say Command A and you're on a PC, it means Control. And I'm going to Command C or Control C to copy. And I'm going to then come over to the street image here and Command V to paste. Okay, and just wait a few seconds and it pops in. Okay, I'm going to take the Move tool, which is right here, the first tool on the toolbar, and I'm going to just move her down a bit. Alright, I'm going to zoom in, so Command or Control plus. Just get a little closer, because we don't want all of this image. So one of the tools I like to use to select the swimmer would be the Quick Selection tool. So if I hold down the magic wand, I go to the Quick Selection tool, and it's a very small cursor, but if I click on the face here a few times, you can see it's beginning to select around her. It just missed the shoulders, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click, just click a few times. Alright, so this is perfect. This looks good. I just want to, I don't need to fix this here, but I don't want it coming down all the way over here. So I'm going to grab the lasso tool. So the lasso tool, I can subtract from a selection where I thought it went a little bit too low here, subtract from a selection by holding down Option. And if I hold down Option and I just scoop up a big chunk here, you can see I can deselect. I might even just deselect a little bit more. So our selection looks something like this. That's perfect. Okay, and that was holding Option or Alt on your keyboard to be able to subtract from a selection. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do, I just noticed right here by her head, I'm just missing a little spot here. So there's the selection tool again, the lasso tool. I can hold Shift and scoop up what I missed. You can see if you hold Shift and circle around what you missed, you can add to a selection. And I guess I might as well just fix this while I'm here, so I'm going to subtract. That means holding down Option or Alt on your keyboard and circling around that spot. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to click on, I'll just zoom out here so you can see what happens, but I'm going to click on this button right here. This is on our Layers button, and it's called a mask. So it's that little dot inside of a rectangle. I'm going to click on that, and notice that it removes everything that was not selected, and it's doing it with something called a mask. So on the layer is attached with a mask. You can see a mask works like this. Anything that's white is showing. Anything that is black in this mask is not. Alright, which means if I take a brush tool now, I'm going to get my brush tool, and I'm going to be sure that I have the color white. So white means to push this all the way up to the edge here, into the corner, and say OK. I can drop down the type of brush that I want. So I do want a round brush, which is what I have here, but I want the hardness to be at 0. I want this to be a very soft brush. And let's take a look at the size. I think I would like a size of about 285. Okay. Alright, so with this brush, I'm going to make sure that I'm selected inside of this mask. You can see right here, I'm in the mask. You can select on the image or the mask. I'm in the mask. And with this brush, I'm going to paint a little bit more white, which will make more image appear. So you can see I'm just kind of painting a bit like this. a little bit more water. And you can see as I paint more white in this mask, it reveals more of the image. And that's what a mask is, essentially. All right, so that's done. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to press either Control or Command J. And what that does is duplicates the layer. So it's a quicker way of just duplicating a layer instead of doing copy and paste. I can just do Command J. All right, so with this new layer, I'm going to select the lower one of the two here. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the blend mode to something called hard light. So right now, this is a blend mode. So we're going to go to hard light, and it's right here. Whoops, hard light. Okay, and that's on the lower of the two duplicated layers. And with my brush, I'm going to get something a little bit larger. My brush tool here, maybe I'm 382. I'm at 380, something around there. I'm going to paint a little bit more white in the layer mask. So be sure that you're actually in the mask. So I'm going to click in the mask. This would mean you're not in the mask. Click inside of this new mask here. And I'm going to paint a little bit more water. So it's kind of like just a little bit more on the edge of the original one, like that. And you can see with this blend mode, the image with hard light, that blend mode hard light, allows what I'm painting or that image to blend a little bit differently into the image. You can see how now I can reveal the texture of the road. Okay, so I'm also going to lower the opacity of this layer. So after I paint a little bit and change the hard light, let's lower the opacity to about 65%. And you can see that it's beginning to kind of also fade away. And if you feel like you want a different opacity, go ahead and choose your own. You can see I can still actually paint even though I've made all those changes if I wanted to. Okay, the next step is to group these layers together. So we're going to put them in a group. So the way we do that is I'll select on the top one here, and then I'm going to hold inside of this kind of gray area of the layer here. I'm going to click on one of them. So I'm going to click on the top one, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to click on the lower one right here. And if we do Command G or Control G, notice it puts them in a folder. Okay, so it just tucks them into a nice folder here that can always be dropped down if we wanted to. So while the folder is selected, I'm going to go to this here. This is the Layer Adjustments icon. Kind of. Okay, so I'm going to, it's like a half black and white circle. I'm going to click on that. And there's a bunch of options here. So I want you to go to the Hue Saturation. The Hue Saturation is going to allow us to remove the color of this water. So when you're working with this, we're going to change Master to Cyan because we want to remove blues and cyans. It's mainly what's in water. So I moved to Cyan from Master here, and there's a saturation, and I'm going to lower the saturation to -100. And then I'm going to go to blue, and I'm going to move the saturation down to -100 as well. And there, you can see what has happened. The next step is we're going to blur the background to create more depth of field. But you can see how this is looking really good. Okay, so to try that, what we need to do is select the background layer. This is the last step here. Select the background layer, and let's Command or Control J to copy it. So now I have two of them. The one at the top here, the background copy, I'm going to go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Let that load up, and this looks perfect. So you'll roll up your radius, to about a 7.2, 7.5, anything around that. You can see how it's blurring the whole background image. I'm going to say OK. But I don't want the whole image to be blurred. I definitely want it to be nice and crisp in the foreground and the background be blurred out. So, because I have one layer that has the full blur on it and one layer that is normal, I'm going to erase away some of the top background image to reveal the one that's in focus below. So here's your eraser tool. In the eraser tool, I'm going to bring up my brush size, and that's the brackets on your keyboard next to P, or you can roll it, you can also roll it right up here. So I'm going to be around a 500, how about a 600, maybe even a 650 sized brush here. And what I'm going to do on this background copy layer, the above background layer, I'm going to erase away. Oh, and you can see that's a hard edge. We don't want that. I'm going to undo that. I definitely want a soft brush. So let's go to hardness 0. A soft brush. You can see my brush got a little smaller because of that. So I'm also going to raise this up to, how about 800? And I'm going to erase away the lower portion of this image. And you can see now I have the foreground in focus, and I might undo that just to make a bigger brush. The bigger brush you have, the softer that transition will be. Now it looks like it goes up to 1,000, so I'm gonna do that. Let me try that again with the 1,000 sized brush, and you can see that now I have an image that has good depth of field, and it's looking really good. I could take this folder layer now that has all of the swimmer in it, both layers here, and I can command, whoops, I forget that Command T doesn't work. You have to go to Edit. So while I'm selected on this folder, I want to scale it up. Edit, Transform, Scale. And we could scale her up a little bit by holding Shift and grabbing a corner. I could scale her up, and then with the Move tool, I can move her back to the middle. So let that process. Oops. Make sure we're on the folder, and I'm going to move her back. Oop. Okay, you might need to select both at the same time and move her back. There. And I like that. So, good luck and give it a try.